Well, good evening, and welcome to the Midweek Word. Tonight, we're going to continue with the short story, Boldly Go. If you missed last week, be sure to go back and listen to it and catch up to where we are, because it is a story that will really bless you. So tonight, we'll continue and conclude the short story as written and narrated by Tiera Thompson, Boldly Go.
Daryl got out of the taxi and looked up at a sight that he hadn't seen in years, knocked on the door and walked in. "Hello, Daryl." "Hey, Grandma. It's been years. How did you know it was me?" "I do more than talk to God. I listen too," Sophia smiled. "Huh. I don't even talk to God anymore," Daryl grunted. "Well, it's better to listen anyway," Sophia replied. "I don't do much of that either, Grandmother. I work hard for everything I got. I haven't needed God for anything, and I don't need him now." "Yeah, that makes sense," nodded Sophia. "So that's why you show up at my house at 2 a.m. after 10 years on Christmas, blind drunk." "Your mother—" "Don't you mention my mother," Daryl interrupts. Then, feeling guilty, continued. "I'm sorry." "Oh, so angry," Sophia remarked. "Very well. I won't mention her. Since you showed up here, let's talk about you." "I don't even know what to say," Daryl shook his head. "Well, go sleep it off, and maybe you can come up with something in the morning. The bed is made for you." "How did you—" Sophia interrupts. "I listen." "Where are you going to sleep, Grandma?" "I'm going to pray." Daryl crashed into the bed and rested until morning. Daryl woke up the next morning rested and feeling remarkably well, which is unusual because lately he woke up with hangovers. And from what he drank the day before, he should have had a hangover that morning. When he left the bedroom, the hanging pots in Sophia's kitchen sounded like church bells. Sophia was sitting in the same spot she was the night before, facing the closed window, her eyes dulled from blindness. Her lips were moving, but he heard no words. As he walked into the room, Sophia smiled. "Good morning." "Morning, Grandma. I'm sorry about last night. Things have just been crashing around me. I try to stay calm and focused, but I just get so angry." "Angry at who?" "I don't know. My mother for how she acts, my brother for enabling her, me for leaving him." Daryl paused again. "I just don't know." "God?" Sophia asked. "Yes, God," Daryl responds. "Why not God? I can't tell you how hard I prayed that he would change my mother. He never did. It was a terrible life he put me in. When I left, I swore I wouldn't go back to her or him again." Sophia laughed. "I have a son who won't go, and another who won't be bold, coming to someone who cannot see for direction." Sophia's smile fades. "No, Daryl, you have not done this on your own. You need his grace, more now than you even know. How do you know you wouldn't have been or still won't be the one to lead your mother to change? If you want the grace to put down that bottle, you must go to him. If you want the grace to save your marriage, you must go to him. If you want the grace to forgive your mother, you must go to him. Anger is a beast that has destroyed many men over the years. You need something stronger than it to defeat it. That is grace." Daryl stammers. I don't even know where to start." "You go to him. You see that old Bible? Take it. Go before his throne and receive that grace and mercy. Go." It had been a while since Daryl prayed. It was a struggle for him to humble himself enough to recognize that he could not save his own life, that he couldn't survive without grace. He had fought so long and so hard. He was so concerned about appearing strong that he took away every opportunity for God to shine through his weakness. Daryl picked up that old Bible and bent his knee. Before he could say a word, he felt chains fall off his heart. It was as though he was picking up weights every day of his life, so gradually that he didn't even notice they were being added. Then all at once, they fell off. He was receiving God's gift in a whole new way this year. Daryl stretched out on the floor, holding that Bible, in tears before the throne of God. That evening, Daryl returned home. "What do you want, Daryl?" Michelle said, opening the door. "Just to apologize, Michelle. I don't even think Allison wants to see you right now." Daryl dropped his head. "You're probably right, as you usually are." "What?" asked Michelle. "Is this the same Daryl I'm married to?" "No, Michelle. I'm not the same Daryl. I'm not perfect, but I'm not the same." While impressed by Daryl's words, Michelle had no desire to let him back in the house. As she went to close the door, something stopped her. She surprised herself when she said, "Come in, we're about to have dinner." The new year was fast approaching, and Derek had no luck finding a job. The rent was soon due, and Derek had no money. There wasn't a day that went by that Derek didn't think about calling Deshawn, but everything inside of him knew it would be a mistake. On New Year's Eve, when Derek returned home, his mom was sitting next to Deshawn on the couch. They were giggling and joking around. "What are you doing here, Deshawn?" Derek asked. "What did I tell you about treating me with some respect, boy? You might need me one day," Deshawn quipped. Derek's mom just went on giggling. "Apologize to him, Derek." "I will never need you, Deshawn." "Oh, really?" Deshawn replied. "Then why am I paying your rent this month?" "What?" "You owe me, boy, and I'm going to collect." Derek shakes his head in disbelief. No, 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 no! Get out of my house." Derek's mom stops giggling and stands up from the couch. "Be polite. He just paid our rent." "No! Both of you out of my house." "What? You're kicking me out? I am your mother." Deshawn leans up from the couch and mocked. "Yeah, and here I thought you were the model's son." "Honestly, I don't even care. I paid my money. I expect you to do a job. That is what your mom promised." Derek looked at Deshawn directly in his eyes and said, "Well, she promised it, so she can do it." Deshawn shook his head. "Nah, player. I already paid my money. You give me my money or you do the work." Derek rolled his eyes. "I will get you the money. Just both of you get out of my house." Derek's mom flies into his arms. "I am your mother. How are you going to let this happen to me?" She starts crying. "You were looking for a job. You couldn't get one. You can do this work, Derek. Everyone does it. You know how the streets work." "I just don't want that life, Mom," Derek replied as he stared down at his crying mother. She looked up back at him. With tears in her eyes, she said, "What makes you so special?" Derek just stared at her for a while, then responded, "Nothing, I guess." "Just make a couple of drops, sweetie. Deshawn will take care of us," she said, crying into his shoulder. "Fine." Good, Deshawn said, smiling. "Look, I got a quick drop. I just need you to drop it off on Crescent." "That's right up the street. Why do you need me to do it?" Derek questioned. Just shut up and do as you're told. I have my reasons. Go do it now. If you hurry, you can make it back before the new year. Deshaun took the package, rolled his eyes, and walked out. As the door slammed behind him, Sophia woke up from her bed. My spirit feels troubled. I need to pray. She rose and went to her favorite chair. The hanging pans in her kitchen clanged like a fire alarm. Dear Lord, my body is weak, but I will stay with you this hour to pray. Daddy, Allison yawns. Are you coming to church with us tomorrow for the New Year's service? Of course I'm coming, baby. I'm happy you're coming, Dad. Don't you think you should go to bed now? It's 11:30, Daryl asked. But you said I could stay up to see the New Year. Michelle looked across the couch at Daryl with amused "I told you so" eyes. I did say that, Daryl smiled. Just then, Daryl heard Sophia say, "Go." He turned and looked around. What's wrong? Asked Michelle. I thought I heard my grandmother. Michelle sits up. There's no one else here. Go. Daryl jumped up. I just heard it again. Do you think it has something to do with your mother again? Asked Michelle. I don't know, Daryl responded, but I'm going to find out. Are you sure? Do you want me to go with you? No, stay with the kids. He looked down at Allison snoring away and smiled. It's time I dealt with this. Okay, honey, call me if you need me. Daryl got in his car and started driving to his mother's house. Derek walked down the stairs of his apartment and sat on the bottom stair. He listened as neighbors started with their party poppers and firecrackers. He thought about all of his options and couldn't think of any. Where to get the money or a new place to live. He looked around and settled. This is where I belong. With tears in his eyes, he stood up and headed to Crescent Street, when Calvin, another dealer, yelled at him. Hey, kid, you working for Deshaun? Derek said, who? Calvin leaned in and whispered, I told Deshaun this stretch was mine. This is for you. He took the package, pulled out a pistol, and pulled the trigger. As the shot rang out, Sophia stood up from her chair in her apartment and prayed harder. She prayed until she couldn't think of any more words. When she didn't know the words, her spirit took over. She prayed so intently that she cried and sweated. Derek stumbled in shock and fell on the ground. He lay on the pavement with his blood pooling around him. His eyelids were heavy and stayed closed longer with every blink. It occurred to him that although his grandmother would see the new year, he would not see the new year. This seems about right, he thought. I have lived unseen, and I will die unseen. As he closed his eyes, he heard his grandmother say, boldly. He swung his eyes open. Again he heard, boldly. Then he prayed by moving his lips because his body was not strong enough for sound. Dear God, I know you see me and that you hear my prayer. I approach your throne to receive mercy and grace in my time of need. Despite all that I did and didn't do, I know you are still my Father and that you care for me better than I cared for my mother. As he continued to pray, he heard fireworks and screaming in the distance as the new year came in. Then he heard screeching tires. Derek! Derek, is that you? Daryl had pulled up and ran to his brother. I got you. I got you. As Daryl placed his hand on Derek, Sophia looked up from her prayer. She could see. For the first time in 20 years, she could actually see. She saw golden corridors and a beautiful emerald throne. She saw angels, mighty and beautiful, in colors that she didn't even know existed. Everywhere she looked, she saw beauty. She didn't need to see her old Bible anymore because she was looking at its author. As she reached for his hand, she heard him say, "Well done." Hey, Derek, you need help getting ready for the funeral? Nah, man, I'm almost ready. Thanks for letting me stay here while I get better. It's no problem. The girls need to spend time with their uncle, and we don't know when we're going to see you again once you finish school. I'm always going to come and see y'all. Daryl sat on the guest bed behind his brother as Derek adjusted his tie in the mirror. Daryl asked with a smile, "Are you sure? With all that money, you can go wherever you want." I had no idea Grandma had so much money. Me neither, Derek chuckled. I still feel funny that she didn't give you any. Don't feel bad, Derek. Grandma gave me much more than I ever needed, and you were the one that was always taking care of her. I'm happy she gave you the money. Just don't waste it. Yeah, I think that's why she didn't give me the money sooner. I would have wasted it. I still can't believe she is gone. And with a smile on her face at that. Daryl chuckled. The funny thing is, it seemed like she was looking at something. Oh, she was, Derek asserted. I'm sure of it. Are we going to drop by Mom's house before the funeral? Daryl nodded his head. I have a gift for her. They went up to the apartment and rang the bell. No one answered, so they walked in. She was sitting, looking out of the window, her face tear-stained and frozen still. Ma? There was no response. They tried talking to her and invited her to the funeral, but she just didn't respond. It was as if she was made from stone. As they stood to leave, she burst into tears. Everyone leaves me. No one cares for me. You don't love me. How could you do this to me? They turned to face her. Daryl leaned over and kissed her on the forehead. He gave her Sophia's old Bible and said, "Boldly go."
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of Boldly Go by Tiera Thompson. Tiera, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It was so good. Now, everyone, before I let you go, I want to tell you that this Sunday, the day after Christmas, we're going to be online only. So you can watch in the same way that you're watching right now at 10 a.m. and tune in for our service. We'll have a time of worship and a short word for the coming year. So, everyone, this Christmas is Saturday. I want you to have a wonderful and Merry Christmas. And remember, and think about, what do I want to give Jesus as his gift for this Christmas? And really, that should be our hearts. Amen. God bless, and we'll see you this Sunday.